You are not the father moments on paternity court.
Mr. Richardson, you are not the father. Mr. Martin,
I told you.
You are the
told
father.
You. I knew what it was.
No, that is not possible.
I
That
know
is not possible.
man.
you are not the father.
She's okay.
Were you hoping that...
I was.
Miss Graves brought her half-sunken marriage in hopes to fix the damages. She said that her husband doubted the paternity of their daughter, but this was about her second daughter. The defendant believed that two other guys her wife mentioned could be potential fathers. So, to find out, the closure of a DNA test was the only option.
You're suing your husband, Mr. Baker, for a paternity test to prove that he's your 19-year-old daughter, Vanisha's biological father. Mr. Baker, you claim you're not the father because your wife admitted two other men could possibly be Vanisha's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff explained that it has been really hard for her to deal with the guy at the podium. His behavior towards his family was awful. What could be the reason for a man to be like this?
I feel like he kind of punishing me and my daughter. He's not the man that he should be for the family. We had a DNA for my first daughter. It was 22 years ago, and he took care of her for a whole year. I was always honest. I always told him there was a possibility for her as well. Oh well.
This feels hard to believe, right? However, the mother shared the story that created the roots of doubt in the first place. Up next, Miss Graves stated that would allow anyone to question a kid's birth.
22 years ago, you had a daughter, and for a year, he thought it was his biological daughter. But you were honest that it may or may not be. Ultimately, you had a DNA test, and it was determined that, in fact, he was not the biological father of your older daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff explained the alleged father's treatment of her daughter, Vanisha. Moreover, she even told the defendant about Vanisha's birth, but his reaction shocked and hurt her. Man, how long has this been going on?
I went to him to his mother's house, and I said, Michael, I seen some resemblance. I think we need to do a paternity test. He
Who looks
cursed
always
me out and belittled me in front
Oh,
of
my.
many of people.
Oh my.
And said he
Oh,
didn't
my.
even have sex with me around that time.
Oh my.
The defendant said he didn't remember her telling him about the other potential fathers, even though he turned to the big question of infidelity, which pointed out the fault on Miss Graves' part. Well, he clearly denied any chance of being a father.
At some point, she came to you and said, I think Vanisha is your daughter. Do you remember that?
I don't remember as far as like.
You don't remember
basically-
cussing me out in front of your mom and your sister and her
In front of my
friends?
sister?
Yes,
No.
yes.
You don't remember that, sir?
I mean, I might have did it. I'm not gonna say I didn't.
He
I did it,
remember.
but I'm not gonna
See,
say I
that's the
remember,
problem.
Your Honor.
Miss Graves said that he once actually believed that Vanisha resembled him, but later he denied it. She shared how much she had been suffering mentally and physically from a crucial sickness. Come on, at least you should be empathetic to your wife.
I went to my mom's house for 2 weeks to clear my mind. I have terminal cancer. You know, I'm doing chemo, and right before I do the chemo, we're arguing, and my blood pressure
So
shot
it's
through the
basically a
roof.
blame on me though.
Yes. Where's your compassion? I'm your wife.
Baker.
The defendant told the court that there were two possible fathers for Vanisha, and Miss Graves told him about that. In a 22-year-old relationship, 3 men are involved in paternity. That's mad! But what does the plaintiff have to say about that?
The two other men, how did you find out about these?
I mean,
two
she
other
told me about them. She said that it could be a possibility that 2 other guys that she's involved with could be the father of Miss Curl. And I was like,
And
you
so,
know,
Ms. Graves, you did admit to him that there were 2 other potential fathers.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever test any of the other men?
No.
The events of the past were recalled, and Miss Graves said that she was intimate with Mr. Baker during Halloween, which brought us to the window of conception. So, where did the other 2 guys sit in the story? Let's listen to the plaintiff's confession.
Tell me what you presented here, a conception calendar?
Yes, ma'am.
Vanisha's birth date is what?
July 28th, 95.
It gave you dates of conception of October 31st through November 8th, 1994, meaning that was during the time of Halloween.
Yes. I didn't just tell him. I told the other guys too.
Miss Graves revealed the reason why she believed the defendant is her real father and not the others. While she presented her thoughts, Mommy got very emotional about Vanisha's state in the story.
I want to make sure before I leave this world that she knows I don't want her to be punished for something that I did in the past.
Why?
If our marriage can be fixed, you know, if he can stop thinking about the past and move forward where I can be happy before I leave this world.
Vanisha was brought forward and asked about Mr. Baker's behavior with her. She revealed the reality of their relationship and was deeply hurt. It was sad to know this girl's life had been affected. So, we'll go ahead and reveal those DNA results to you.
How is your relationship with Mr. Baker?
Well, Your Honor, we have a love-hate relationship. We're not always on the same page.
Mr. Baker, you are not her father.
You're my daughter no matter what. Okay, I'm sorry.
A young girl brought up the case regarding her paternity and wanted to prove that the guy standing beside her was her daddy, and that it was high time he embraced it, because his rejection was taking a toll on her, whereas Mr. Bullock said he was sure he was not the father, even though he was married to the plaintiff's mother. It appears simple, though only DNA can prove this.
Miss Ashley, you say that after finding Mr. Bullock, he embraced you as his daughter before cruelly rejecting you. You have no doubt he's your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Bullock, you say that you are 100% certain Miss Ashley is not your daughter. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Miss Ashley told the court how she had spent all of her life being adopted. She was deeply hurt and confused for not knowing anything about her real parents. I feel for the girl.
At age 6, I was adopted by a single woman. She gave me a good life, but we bumped heads a lot because I always knew I was adopted. It was always a hard time, you know, growing up. Played basketball, ran track. All of my friends, they had their fathers there rushing out of work. Not me, never.
And that hurts you, I can see that.
It bothers me.
The defendant explained the situation where the falling took place. He admitted that he was looking for Miss Ashley all her life, but then she was still not a big part of his life. Why?
I've tried several attempts, several times. As a matter of fact, that Saturday she was taken away.
Ma'am, I was
went down
adopted.
because I was paying child support. So she wasn't
paying
adopted
child
right away.
support, you know where I was
I
at.
went to get her in a certain party.
I was in the same spot where you left me. So what kind of looking was you? I found
Okay,
you.
I love-
That wasn't
okay,
smart.
now-
Just tell the truth.
Okay, now to tell the truth is, I don't believe she minds to tell the truth.
So you heard the man. Now you know why Mr. Bullock was looking for his daughter, but is still denying it. Whereas the alleged daughter said that they communicated for the first time through Facebook. It seems all right by far, but why is she still upset?
I wrote him an email on Facebook.
It says, my name is Ebony Ashley. I was born to your mother's name. Can you please contact me? I'm not asking for anything from you. I would just like to talk.
The defendant revealed how things went down when they first got contacted. But the anger and sadness of years don't make your behavior change a little bit. It's just natural. Mr. Bullock said he could prove what was the problem.
He invited you to come down to visit him with your children. In your mind, there weren't any questions as to whether
I thought everything was cool.
I've been told that I wasn't your father. Everything I say to her is a negative. She in my house and act like I'm not there, ignoring me.
Are you
have an
serious? You
attitude.
didn't even
Yeah.
look at me for 2 days.
Furthermore, Mr. Bullock explained through the charts the conception dates. But why is he still denying everything when he even signed the birth certificate? Then he gave this reason even after it.
Ebony's supposed to have been born right here, but
in April.
yes, ma'am, in November. So I figured she was born in November that early. She should have been an incubator or something. She was 9 pounds. I mean, I use
I
your
was
words,
5
Donna.
pounds.
That is a huge window.
Ebony was born just 4 months
Yes, ma'am.
after you met
Met her
her
mother.
mother. But she was a 9-pound full-term baby.
His denial was based on another factor, and the defendant argued that they wouldn't be standing in court if Miss Ashley behaved well with him. Arrows of anger were thrown from both sides. Both parties seemed confused about why they acted like that with each other and wanted to know the truth.
If Ebony treated me like a human being,
Treated you like what? Just
like a
because
person,
I don't
talk to me like, no, she curses
just-
me out.
I do
Your
not
Honor.
cuss you out. You just mad
Ebony,
because I tell you
Ebony,
the
you
truth.
don't put the
One-
security curse right there.
Yeah, I sure was.
One-
That's
listen.
fast. You full of it.
Ebony
I
is-
can't deal with
Let's talk one at a time.
I need to know if she my daughter or not if I'm gonna put her with this kind of behavior.
Finally, the harsh truth of how the law parted the father and kid was spoken, and Mr. Bullock explained the reason why he denied Miss Ashley as his daughter. After this, his claims seem very strong.
What we use is practice grenades, and one of them went off. One of my testicles got destroyed, and the doctor said that it's a chance that you won't be able to bear any kids.
Do you have any other children?
No, ma'am.
That's interesting.
The medical situation was still not confirmed, so a doctor was brought in and asked to explain the remaining possibilities of Mr. Bullock's ill condition. Yes, confusion stays.
Most men have 2 functioning testicles and produce somewhere in the order of 1,000 sperm a second. That equals millions of sperm that are transferred. Even at that rate, it only takes 1 to make a baby.
There is still a possibility if he has the other functioning testicle that he could potentially father a child.
Definitely.
The defendant again denied the paternity and gave another reason for his denial for his personal name. Well, now every proof supports Mr. Bullock's statements in this case. The plaintiff expressed her hopes and wanted the answer today at all costs. The awaited DNA results are here.
Miss Ashley, I know this has been difficult and you've had to relive a very painful time in your childhood and you've been through a lot. Mr. Bullock, you are not the father. I'm sorry, Miss Ashley.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
A complicated paternity issue was presented as Miss Bruton believed that the defendant was not the father of her kid. Instead, the ex, Mr. Richardson, was the real one. The results will help her start a new life with Mr. Richardson. Mr. Martin said that she kept the baby from him to move on with her ex. He believed DNA is the only closure to this case.
Ms. Bruton, you claim to be 100% positive that Mr. Martin is not your son's biological father because your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Richardson, is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin, you claim Ms. Bruton kept the baby from you in hopes that she could build a family with Mr. Richardson and not you.
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff said she was sure of the father because the baby resembled her ex, Mr. Richardson, a lot. The defendant denied it and told the story of how they were sleeping together. He also said she led him to believe he was the father and then changed her ways like this.
He don't favor Mr. Martin at all. So that's why I'm sure.
I know I had unprotected sex around the time that she conceived. She might say I didn't have it as many times she said I did, but I know it's a fact.
No.
It's 99.7%
No, Your Honor.
that it is mine.
So you say this is your child, Mr. Martin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Bruton revealed the nature of her relationship with both men in question and how things went around that time when she was with both of them. Mr. Martin then disclosed his intentions to Miss Bruton. Everyone chuckled at his stupid thoughts.
When I met Mr. Martin, I confided him as a friend, and then our friendship grew into a sexual relationship. But it wasn't nothing more than that. My heart always been with Anthony.
I really wanted me a child at the time, so I was trying to get her pregnant, and I did tell her that.
You were trying to get her pregnant?
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff explained the conception dates and was very confident, but Mr. Martin revealed more truth about those dates. To be honest, the dates were very tightly messy.
When you were intimate with Mr. Richardson, that's who you claimed was the father, right?
Yes.
When were you intimate with Mr. Martin?
April the 10th and April the 11th.
Listen, that's so not true.
You're disputing those days?
Yeah, yes, yes.
When
I'm
do you
not
say
disputing.
you were intimate?
Before the 7th, it was like on the 5th maybe.
While she told the dates in court, the truth spilled out of the plaintiff's mouth, and she admitted something fishy about the pregnancy communication with both men. Well, that was wrong in all respects.
I just told them that I'm pregnant. And
Oh, so you didn't tell the other man that there was
because
another.
I had to keep it a secret because I was in love with Mr. Richardson and I didn't want him to find out about Mr. Martin.
If you were so in love with him, why was we having sexual relationship when you was with him?
Because-
That's no way of showing love.
After the conception window discussion, Miss Bruton said that Mr. Richardson was present during the time of the birth. She explained her intentional blackout from the defendant boldly after the baby was born. Huh, she seems to hate Mr. Martin for sure.
Mr. Richardson was at the hospital. I have no idea where Mr. Martin was because we wasn't in contact with each other.
And who signed the birth certificate?
Mr. Richardson. I didn't even let Mr. Martin know when I had Logan.
You didn't think he had a right to know that the baby was coming when it
No,
potentially
because-
could be his?
No, because I wanted Mr. Richardson to know all of that. I didn't want Mr. Martin to know none of that.
The plaintiff told who signed the birth certificate of the baby, but she was still standing in the court to prove paternity to Mr. Martin. The defendant said her behavior with him after birth was wrong. Practically, it was not right.
You allowed Mr. Richardson to sign the
Yes.
birth certificate.
I
because-
think he's the father and I'm hoping he's the father.
Oh, and now you're in paternity court with another man that says he's also this child's father, and the reason why he believes that is because
wants
you
to be
told
his
him.
father because he wants kids so bad, but Logan is not his. That's why I want
He
him to
most
know.
definitely is.
The plaintiff's ex, Mr. Richardson, said that he always accepted the baby as his, but also disclosed a shocking statement about the paternity doubt. Then, Miss Bruton recalled how both men got involved in this thread. Seems like the plaintiff kept both men in confusion for her childish behavior.
When you're in the hospital, you're thinking that without a doubt, this is my child that's being born today.
Yes. Well, one day we was sitting down one morning and she came out and told me like, oh, I've been sleeping with Mr. Martin.
When I felt like he was hurting me, I decided to hurt him. There's a possibility that Mr. Martin is Logan's father.
You had suspicion of me because of things that you do.
The judge asked Mr. Richardson's thoughts regarding the doubts of the paternity after knowing the involvement of Mr. Martin. And he said this: both men were claiming the child's resemblance to them. everyone in this court is very confident of their claims.
He could potentially be the father of this child. Doesn't some doubt set in? Have you ever just said to yourself, this may not be my child?
Yes, it did. But more so, he is my child.
Mr. Richardson, you are not father. Mr. Martin,
I told you.
you are the
told
father.
you. I knew what it was.
No, that is not possible.
I know
That
they
is
ain't
not
lying. I
possible.
know they
man.
ain't lying.
A man brutally denies the paternity of a kid and won't do anything for the baby until he gets the DNA proven. The plaintiff said she is certain that the defendant is the father of her son. She said that Mr. Brown hasn't done anything for the child and neither ever visited him. Ms. Hyman wanted to prove it to him and his family and had asked for DNA today.
Ms. Hyman, you're here today to prove to the defendant, Mr. Brown, that he is the biological father of your 4-year-old son, Landon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, you are adamant that you are not Landon's father and say you won't do a thing for the child since he's not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
What has Mr. Brown done for your son?
He has done nothing, no visit, no type of affection.
The defendant said he disbelieved her because of his other experience. It is hard to get through something unpleasant again in life. But there was something else involved too. He said some rumors kept him in doubt about the baby.
Past experiences that I have had of me going through a situation where I asked for a DNA test and I found out the child wasn't mine.
What exactly is your doubt based on?
Because they
None.
coming to me saying
My son
that
looks
that
just
he's
like him.
another man's baby 2 months later
None.
than it's mine. What would you do?
Mr. Brown said that he has asked for a DNA test before and put the blame on the plaintiff for not being supportive in this manner. However, Ms. Hyman said he lied about everything. Nobody took the blame and fought crazily in the court.
Did you ask Ms. Hyman for a DNA test?
Asked for a DNA test when it was brought to my attention.
Lie.
If I already went down there to took a DNA test, you really don't need me to go down there to go get a DNA test. All you gotta do is just go down there and take the child down there to do a DNA test.
He never went down there. Just like you went down there with your other child and put yourself on child support, you can go down there with this child and put yourself on child support with this one.
The defendant's witness stepped in and strengthened his claim on paternity by sharing this story. The rumor of another guy made everyone believe in favor of Mr. Brown's thoughts.
Do you believe 4-year-old Landon is your son's child?
I have my doubts.
You do. And why do you doubt?
His particular relative was saying that it was his child. That's where the doubt came in, Your Honor.
So you were at work and someone came up to you and said, I think you should encourage your son to get a blood test. Get a DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor. He knew firsthand.
After the infidelity rumor, the plaintiff revealing the nature of her relationship with Mr. Brown returned the doubt of paternity to its initial state. She shared the date of conception regarding being with both guys. Lots of dib and dab, but no one's taking responsibility for their actions.
When were you all last involved
The week of
sexually?
Christmas.
Christmas week. At what point did you all stop being intimate and you had relations with someone else?
Me and this young man, we really never stopped being intimate. We still dip and dab every now and then.
So the clouds of confusion start to grow on us when we listen to Miss Hyman's involvement with 2 guys. The situation makes everything more tangled, but it didn't change the plaintiff's mind about the doubt.
When you were dipping and dabbing with him in December, were you also with somebody else?
February and March.
But you said Landon was born in October.
October.
All the way to December, that's almost 10 full months.
Correct.
And then the other guy was around 8+ months.
I was already pregnant then when I started dipping and dabbing with this other young
Doesn't
man.
add up, Your Honor.
Then, Miss Hyman explained that the kid resembled the defendant totally. Mr. Brown denied it and gave a stupid reason for his belief here. Listen to it and laugh.
Your Honor, looks don't mean nothing. You can think about a person so much that a child can come out looking like that person. You know that.
but I'm okay.
We know that.
But my whole thing, Your Honor, if you can hang
no,
out-
I don't know that.
I'm sorry.
The plaintiff's mother said she also believed that Mr. Brown was the father of the kid. Then, the defendant's mother replied that she wanted to know the truth too for so long. Nobody knows why a simple paternity test took this long.
I know Mr. Brown would be a great parent. And in my heart, I believe it. So I believe that Mr. Brown is my grandson's father.
On that same token, though, with that being said, if he is turned out to be our grandson today, we have lost 4 years because we've been asking for this for 4 years.
Miss Hyman explained the reason why the DNA test took to this day for her son. She selfishly claimed that results are just for the kid, and she has always been a responsible parent.
Why has it taken so long?
Us beefing with each other, us not being on the same page. It could be some times where I might be busy and he's busy. If I'm not busy, he might be out of town.
When I asked for a DNA test,
You have not asked for a DNA test. Your mother asked, not you.
Listen, I couldn't imagine for 4 years a child growing up and not knowing who his father is.
The plaintiff continued that Mr. Brown didn't have a really good relationship with her son. He then explained his behavior with the kid and again stated the same reason. These two people seem unfair and unbelievable at this point.
When Mr. Brown comes in the house to pick up our other son, he'll dap him up, pat him on the head.
So wait, you come pick up the other son, but you don't pick up Landon?
Yes.
Mr. Brown, you are not the father.
She's okay.
Were you hoping that...
I was.